Hey guys, hey everyone. Welcome to the live. Hi Marsha, Tom, Brenda, Santa, Nancy. Hi Eva. Hey guys, welcome. Well, here we are again. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Sunday. Santa says good evening from Sweden. Marsha says, hi everyone, this looks like an interesting topic. The ego has something to do with limiting the growth of our consciousness. Yeah, so that's the topic. So how does consciousness grow? Really, a better way to have worded it is, well, yeah, I'm just tuning into it. so consciousness, expansiveness versus limitations. So and of course, when you limit something, when you yourself put constraints on it, then it can only grow so much, right? So so that's the topic for today. And yay, Heather's here. So uh, there's just some mowing on the tractor, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. But if not, well, we'll just have to we'll have to listen extra hard. Hey Tony. Hey guys. So before we get into it, let's take a deep breath in and let's put everything but everything outside of us. Everything that has nothing to do with us, and let's welcome in ourselves, let's welcome in our higher levels. So even taking a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, and welcoming yourself back in, welcoming yourself back forth. Any pieces, anything you've given energy to, let's bring it all back to you. Let's bring all of your consciousness back to you, cleared, cleansed, and purified. Okay, so welcoming ourselves back in, welcoming ourselves back forth. Okay, so and this is something to note. Okay, so when you're feeling your presence in your body, okay, that is one thing. Okay, but are you analyzing your presence in your mind? Okay, so those are two different things. So when I say go into feeling, literally dropping your consciousness into the heart and just feeling, not making a story about it, not making, yeah, stuff, hoopla about it. Okay, just feeling the love that you are, pure energy, pure love, pure consciousness. Okay, and that's really what I am conveying or communicating. Okay, but when we stay in the mind tries to psychoanalyze how the body feels. Okay, and actually looking at it, it's making stories about it, right? So so just taking note of how much you're in the mind and how much you're in the heart. Okay, so we're all coming out of the mind. So, yeah, and today's topic is how consciousness grows. Okay, so expansiveness versus limitations. Okay, and that's really what, from the time we come into the body, we're experiencing limitations. Okay, we don't have to, but so far, humanity has, well, we make boxes, we make sandboxes for ourselves, right? So, identities and and we're the one creating limitations for ourselves to see, find out more about ourselves, see how fun it is, and then when we're ready to move on, well, we can't grow anymore, then we're going to move on and continue to grow without any limitations, without any constrictions. We're going to grow as ourselves, in ourselves, and through ourselves. So this is what the new paradigm is. Okay, so, for example, it's like being in a relationship with someone, and you both, because that's where we're used to living, in a box in the mind. Okay, so the mind is limitation. So you are in a relationship with someone, or maybe at a job, and it starts to feel very dense, it starts to feel very constricting, and it starts to feel very limiting, and you literally cannot go any further, right? So you've had the experience, and some people stay in the relationship, in the job, or whatever because it's their comfort zone, even though it feels so uncomfortable, because it feels like the walls are caving in and everything is getting very tight, right? But you're the one creating the experience for yourself, and you're the one giving it energy. So if you just welcome your consciousness back and call in your presence, okay, where would it be in the best and highest for me to go now? Where can I continue to grow? So consciousness is always expanding, always growing, okay? You cannot stop it. If you put yourself in a box, it will stay kind of stagnant, but not really. It's just an illusion until you pull yourself out. So that's what we're doing. We're releasing, we're transcending all of the limitations. Okay, so if it feels like, yeah, many feel like they're never going to get where they're going, or there's no points to all of this, or or yeah, whatever stories are told. You're never going to wake up, you're never going to come back to the heart, or you're never going to find all of those aspects of yourself. Who are you kidding? That's also the ego telling the story, trying to keep you, well, get your energy for one, and trying to stay alive, trying to keep you in its comfort zone. The creator does not have a comfort zone. Okay, what does that mean? Why would the creator have a comfort zone? Where can the creator be uncomfortable? It is the creator, pure love, pure energy, pure consciousness. So all of this safety, comfort zone, identities, those are all limitations, okay? And that's it's fun to play in them if you're trying to find something, trying to find a piece of yourself, a piece of your consciousness, or whatever. But then when you're done with it, so we take the energy out of it and the box dissolves. The only reason the box exists, the only reason the ego exists in the first place is why? Is because of us, because we're the ones who created it. So it really is that simple, okay? But it's, well, because everything feels so dense, everything's coming up at once. It's yeah, it feels very heavy and can feel impossible or whatever. I know. I'm well aware of it. You know, if I why it doesn't. Well, first of all, that's how I truly feel. Okay, that everything is light. Okay, and light consciousness. Okay, but it wouldn't do. Well, how beneficial would it be if I made lives or YouTube videos and I'm like, yeah, life sucks. Well, this is a crock of shit. I know it feels that way, okay, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The light is you. So everyone's coming out of their comfort zone, the tunnel, and into the light, welcoming themselves in, literally. So consciousness. Now I can hear myself. So let me regroup and get a drink. So I didn't plan for the tractor to be right next to us. So you're good. I thought the drill might be more disturbing, but no, it's mowing. So no, it's totally fine. So so anyways, but yeah, consciousness, you, I, the love that we are is always growing. Okay, it can't not grow. It's just sometimes we go over here, grow in this field, and then when you fill up the field and realize there's fencing, okay, you can't go any further, well, then it's time to come out of the fence. And it can feel very uncomfortable, it can feel very dense, but you're the one who created the fence for yourself. Okay, so and why would the creator want to live in a box? Why would the creator want to live in a paddock or inside a fence, right? Why does the creator need fences? It's the ego that wants all of the protections. It's the ego that feels safe with limitations or putting walls up. Okay, but to what end? So because the ego never feels safe. I mean, have you ever met someone, or maybe you have experienced this yourself, where but it's sometimes easier to see outside of yourself. Okay, maybe someone who they put so many walls up to the point where they are aggressive towards other people, they lash out at others, they physically harm others, they verbally berate others, they because they're trying to keep others away from them. They're trying to put up fences. So if that were true, if that worked, if that really made the ego feel safe, then that person would be totally content and would not be lashing out that way, right? So the ego's never satisfied. It will never be enough. It will never have enough control. There'll never be enough barriers to protect it. It's this, yeah, it's basically its whole game is fear. So the more you take your energy out of it, the more it dissolves, and then so do the boxes, and then that's how you grow. So literally the ego dissolves, and then your energy comes in and grows. So I'll answer. Marcia sparked a topic. She says, the ego has something to do with limiting the growth of our consciousness. Yeah, so how can the ego limit your consciousness? So it's an interesting thing because it can feel very like, there's this perception that everything is happening to you, right? So all of us have felt like victims at some point, like the world, everything is just happening around us, and we're not really, yeah, everything's so unfair, and all these, yeah, things are happening, and nothing is really going our way. And it's because we don't know who we are, or we do, but because we're so actually brainwashed to believe that we're victims, that we're helpless and can't do anything for ourselves, but truly we're the creators. So so it's a funny game that humanity has bought into. So there's nothing limiting the growth of your consciousness. You're the one that is believing and buying into all these limitations, buying into what society says, making the ego bigger. So you're the one who is giving it energy. So if there's anyone who's limiting your growth, it's you. Does that make sense? Because the ego is not a creator, it's just a bunch of boxes that you've put yourself in and given energy to. And once you take your energy out of the box, it collapses. Like it literally doesn't exist anymore. So but we're so used to, even in, I mean, yeah, it's just, there's this level of unawareness, okay, of who humanity is, what creation is about, and who the creator is. So of course we're bombarded with this idea and this perception that we are helpless, that we are victims, and that the world is a scary place. And yeah, this is what we're bombarded with since the time that we are children. So let's, and that's why so many as kids, they're born, and the baby is very open, right, and everyone can feel the love that it is. And then it starts to become, the mind through the ego starts to become programmed. So as it gets older, it starts to watch mom and dad, and they've been programmed. It starts to mimic mom and dad, and then go to school or have experiences with others, and then they start to pull up walls up. And before you know it, that love, that light, it goes into the background, and it's kind of like a different person, really. So those are the walls. So imagine if we didn't do that. So if you come out of it, come back to the heart, and then, yeah, children and really everyone. So then that gives them the opportunity to open up as well. So they feel your light, and then it magnifies theirs, and then they can make the choice to open up their heart and to come out of all those boxes. So what if we stopped believing in those stories? What if we didn't give those stories energy? And what if we just let children grow instead of telling them stories about what this planet is about? Imagine, that would be very fascinating to find out, right? Tom says there is absolutely nothing to be in fear about. Well, what is fear to begin with? So it is real because you make it real, but but it's not real. Well, for myself, it's not real to me. Okay, so my ego sometimes might throw it at me or whatever, and that's the best word I have for it. But I don't have, the creator doesn't know fear. How can pure love, pure consciousness, pure energy know fear? It's something that you buy into or give energy to, but it's the only reason it's real is because you're giving energy to it. So for others, so for yourself, you can pull your energy, your consciousness out of it. Okay, that's why I say in the beginning of the lives, let's bring all of our consciousness back to ourselves right here, right now. Instead of whatever you were looking at on social media, your conversation with this person, it becomes kind of, it's not a great word, but the best word I can describe is fragmented. Okay, so bringing all of your consciousness back right here, right now, and when you take energy out of it, then it's not real to you. Other people might experience it. It's real to them, but it doesn't have to be real to you. We're not dependent on one another. So others don't have to change in order for you to feel comfortable. It's actually the opposite. It's actually the opposite. The more you bring your consciousness in, the more comfortable you feel, and everything else is outside of you, especially fear and what others are experiencing. So let's go to the now it's nice and quiet. So my friend is building a new chicken coop because we lost 20 chickens due to a fox. Luna did not protect the chickens. Surprise, surprise. So she's building a new chicken coop that's a bit bigger. And I thought it might be too loud because it's right over there, but it's actually the tractor that anyways, muffled the noise. So let's see what we have here. Okay, so speaking of fear, there's one comment. So targeted individual 777, Dustin. So, well, how about we use the name Dustin? I mean, I can call you by both, but anyway. So, hey, have you heard that there are parasite soul-stealing negative ETs called Archons in bodies of Greys and Zetas, mimicking beautiful Nordic aliens with holographic technologies? Also, you are a daughter of God. Yes. Well, God is within me. God is within you. Okay. So, but yes. So there's this interesting dichotomy, Dustin. So we've talked about it before. So let me get a drink before I answer this. we've talked about it before. So on one, yeah. So first, let's actually, when you listen to this, as you're listening to this, if you listen to this, and before you jump in, right, to the stories about the ETs and the evil ones and the entities and the Christed enlightened beings, okay? These are all overlays, okay? So everyone is pure energy, pure love, pure consciousness, okay? There's just different levels of understanding, and then there's different overlays and different costumes, okay? And we've connected before, we've discussed it before, okay? That these entities that have been bothering you, trying to get in your body. Yeah, and honestly, it's mass consciousness too. So, mass consciousness, I mean, if you think of a virus, like the Matrix, but basically a virus, okay, it's something that we buy into, and then you take it in and take it on and make it your own, and that includes taking it in and taking it on into your body as well. So you're not alone in this. This has actually happened with every single person on the planet, okay? And it's everyone's decision to come out of it. That's why I say put everything that is not you outside of you, because so many have bought into mass consciousness, okay? And where it really hooks into humans is there's a sexual component to it, okay? Because that's humans have made sex into something where it's a perception, okay? But basically, the belief that you dominate someone's body by having sex with them, okay? So it's all of that stuff that you're picking up on. It's not that it's not real, okay? But it's outside of you. So let's put it there. Okay. So, and you are very special. Okay. There is no other being like you in the entire universe. Okay. But also, everybody else is special as well. So, they are also their own unique being. Okay. I am my own unique being. Everybody else is their own unique being. Okay. The reason, so why do you suppose these entities or these archons, whatever name you want to give them, this energy is bothering you more so than others? Okay, it really, others, most of them are unaware of it, okay, but you're aware of it. So let's get down to the truth of it. See, the reason that they stick around, the reason that they target you is because you give it energy. Okay, so they are getting something from you, so they stick around. And yes, there's a perception that you have bought into, that you are a victim. Okay, and how can that be the case? So on one hand, you're a Christed being, but on the other, you're a powerless victim. So which one? so so let's bring you in, okay? Because you are very special, okay? And but the only way that they can stick around, and the reason that they do, is because you're the one buying into their game. All of their hoopla, all of whatever, all of that stuff, that's outside of you, and the only reason it can come in is because you're the one giving it energy. So you have a choice, my friend, okay? To continue on like this, right? So the battle of good and evil, and everyone's there attacking you, and you're attacking back because you're an angel. And you are an angel, okay? But the human idea of angels is that angels fight and kill people. And well, if they're fighting and killing people, does that make them an angel? So it's an ego construct that humanity has created. Angels are pure love, pure energy, pure consciousness. They are eternal, and they recognize the love, the light within everyone. And so therefore they would never harm or kill anyone, and they cannot be threatened. So there's no need to harm or kill anyone anyways. Okay? So it's really your choice to ask yourself, are these thoughts mine? And why and why am I giving them energy? What am I hiding from? What am I afraid of? Okay? So they can only come in if you give them permission and if you give them energy. So, and so many, I know it can feel very strong. So they will tell stories like you can't do that and you don't have the power to do that and blah, blah, blah. And it's really, they don't have the power to do that. They can't do that, but you can. So the opposite is true. So it's just you are in a box, so are you ready to come out of the box? Being a Christed angelic being is awesome, but who are you? Can you grow even more? Why put a label on it? Why limit it? So it's for you to decide, my friend. So we love you no matter what. Heather says, I've been working on not judging negative, positive conversations, noticing my judgment. Then I stopped because I was missing whole conversations by talking myself out of judging. So you would never judge anyone, okay? So why would the creator judge anyone? What does that mean? So the one that is judging is actually the ego. So the ego's got you again. So so on one hand you have like the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other, and the devil is judging and the angel is saying, no, be the good one, why would you judge, blah blah blah. And then the devil starts arguing, and it's just two different aspects of the ego getting your energy. So gotcha. So yeah, so the judgment, it's okay. The mind and ego fight. The mind actually doesn't fight. So the mind is innocent. It's just processing information, okay? And the mind is scanning the ego. It's picking up on the ego, and it's the ego that fights. So the mind is really innocent. So this is just really the ego fighting with itself. So so imagine that. So I mean, yeah, the judgments, let's let it all come up. So I like to, laugh at my ego when I hear it judging. Okay? So instead of judging, which is what you're doing or what your ego is doing. So you're judging, the ego's judging, and then it's judging itself for judging, which is interesting. So what a game. Let's just let it all come up and let the thoughts be the thoughts, and observe them. Okay, so my ego thinks that the goats suck. Okay. So yeah, so and then when you have time to address it, then you take time to address it instead of uh, giving it more energy, because then it gets bigger. So the more you fight something, the more you give it energy, and you actually make it more real. So let's see. Nathan has, there's lots of comments that are very long, so I'll just shorten I'll just paraphrase. Nathan says, it seems to me the expansion of consciousness happens as a result of the buildup of life force energy, or ki, reproductive energy, within the body in the lower reproductive region, and builds up over time via disciplined celibacy, and eventually rises or ascends within the body of the spine, referred to as Jacob's ladder, rising through the heart to the pineal glands and activating the glands in the brain that allow the higher frequency energy and information, and allows consciousness to grow and expand. So I'm just gonna, maybe is what the flower. Yeah, so and then he is talking about this flower child movement and was trying to do with the consciousness of expanding drugs, but was too intense because it was not natural. What are your thoughts, Megan? So sexual energy is so first of all, everything is energy, okay? Let's take all the filters off of it. So pure love, pure energy, pure consciousness, okay? Sexual energy exists if you make it sexual. Okay, um so that's and ascending or coming back to the heart doesn't have anything to do with sex, okay, or the reproductive system. So sex is just procreation, okay? So you see the animals, sex doesn't have anything to do with sex does not equal love, okay? Sex is literally just procreation. So you see the animals, they whatever do their thing when the hormones are right, and then they're off, whatever, enjoying themselves, okay? Humanity has made a lot of hoopla about it. The ego has gotten into it. So yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with sex, okay? That's actually the old paradigm. So we're moving away from that, okay? And there's no so how consciousness grows, the mind cannot understand. Okay? So this is an explanation that maybe someone came up with or a group of people came up with, and then they shared it, and then people bought into it and made it something. Okay, it's an idea basically. It's a story in the mind, to be totally honest. How can the mind understand how consciousness grows? And if there is no right or wrong way. We're talking about pure energy. So no limitations, no conditions. So it doesn't have to start in the root chakra and ascend upward like in spiral around the spine. So it's when your love, your energy comes in, of course, the chakras open up and it's like a spiral, okay? But it doesn't have anything to do with procreation, okay? So that's actually where this virus, this sexual energy virus that people have been brainwashed with, comes in, where everything has to do with sex. Okay, so let's just take that part out of it. This is about welcoming in your higher levels, welcoming in the love that you are. Okay, and the more you do that, the less you buy into mass consciousness, the ego, the more it dissolves, okay, until it's not there anymore. And then you come in without any limitations, filling up every space, every crevice of the body. And it doesn't happen. So Jacob's ladder, it's the mind tries to understand things linearly. Okay, so past, present, future, when really everything's happening all at once. The same is when your higher levels come in. So it's not like, well, we've got to fill the root chakra up first, and then the sacral chakra, and then the solar plexus, and then it all comes up. It's actually all happening up, all happening at once. Everything's opening up at once. Everything's getting lighter at once. It's not one step after the other. Does that make sense? I think the whole well, we can tune into it, okay? Instead of uh it's yeah, we can actually tune into because you mentioned the flower child stuff and stuff that was going on in the 60s and doing drugs, right? So there was a lot of sex cults back then, and they were trying to find their way home by having sex with each other because that's what they believed, uh what you typed out just there. I mean, it's in the new age community, right? So uh there's going to be someone that completes you, or something outside of you that completes you, and you're going to find it in another person. And then you guys have sex and you're going to become enlightened that way. So I feel like a man made that up. No, I'm just kidding. And that's really what gurus teach. So you see men having sex with all of the women in their cults or whatever, and they truly believe that they are becoming enlightened and enlightening the women. They're doing them a big favor by sleeping with them. So they're both becoming enlightened and becoming closer to God. Okay, it's a perception of lack. Again, if you know you are the love, you are the light, pure energy, pure consciousness, how can you become enlightened? How can you become more of what you already are? And why would you need someone or something outside of you to complete you? How can they complete you? You are both unique, beautiful beings. Okay, so so it's a perception of lack, right? There's a piece of this person missing. They feel alone, and they, yeah, are trying to find their way home through someone else's body. Okay, and then the same goes for this person. They also feel the same way. They feel very alone. They feel like something's missing. They're trying to find their way home through someone else's body, and then they both come together, and they don't, it's not sharing the love that they are, they're sharing the lack that they are and making more lack. And then binding their bodies together and making it more dense. And that's really where this sexual energy virus comes in, and why so many people, why the old paradigm is so heavily based in sex, right? So they share their density, their thoughts, beliefs, misperceptions, they make more of it, and then it goes, and then they go out and share it with others, and then you know how viruses replicate. So there is a way to do it, okay, where there's not any lack. So two beings that are healthy, whole, and complete within themselves, and they are very close, and they want to share the love that they are with each other, okay? And one way you can do that is by having sex, but that sex does not equal love, it's just an act, okay? But if you want to share the love that you are, then that's something you can do together. And then you are making love, making more love, or it's growing and expanding instead of coming from a place of lack. Does that make sense? So, but to answer your question, it's not, yeah, it's not one after the other, one chakra after the other. It's just whatever, however your higher levels, okay? And I say higher levels, you are your higher levels, but I say higher levels because we're not often consciously aware of what we're doing. So bringing up every piece of density within the body, within cleaning out the chakras too, clearing out the chakras, but just any place that is hiding, whatever is best for your journey to come up at that moment in time to transcend is coming up. But there's not, it's, yeah, but there's no method to it, or there's no right method, right? So it's interesting. Thank you for bringing that up, because there's this perception that there's one way to become enlightened, where this is how you become enlightened. And it's, yeah, I could have worded the title better, because we're never going to be able to explain through the mind how consciousness grows, but you can tune into it from the heart. The mind is so limited. It won't, it's not, it does its best and it's getting better, okay? But it's never going to be able to explain how consciousness grows. That's why science is always one step behind creation. So the tree grows, and then the scientists try to figure out how the tree grows, but the tree keeps on growing and growing and growing and changing and changing and changing. And then the scientists are using their minds to try to figure out how. And it's always one step behind, and there's always going to be pieces missing, because the mind is limited. So you can tune into it, but the minds, yeah, the minds can only understand so much. And it's doing its best. It's getting much better. But I prefer to tune into things. So there's only one way to become enlightened. There's only one path home. Do it my way. Says who? Excuse me. Excuse me. So it's another, see, it sounds very religious, right? We know the right way. This is how you're supposed to do it. So there is no right or wrong. So, but when it has that religious context, or this is the right way and this is how it happens for me, so it's how it's supposed to happen for others, it's from the mind and it's filtered through the ego. So let's see. Tony says Spartan got out last night. He was almost better. Now he's limping again. Darn it. Spartan. I'm cheering Spartan on. You know, sometimes, you know, even the judgment that horses are not supposed to, even the word lame, do we want to keep calling it lame? So because that has a certain energy or a certain meaning behind it. So he got out, he ran around, he had an awesome time. So what's wrong with that? So I know equestrians get upset when their horses are lame, because then obviously you wouldn't want to put pressure or ride a lame horse, right? But it's actually serving you here because he's shaking things up, right? So the ego loves control, and one thing that can make you feel very out of control is when your horse gets loose. So and he did. So he's there to open your heart, right? And to shake things up. Okay? So let's for you, Tony, let's let everything come up, everything that bothers you about it. Let's let it all come up to the surface. So because he's doing you a favor. Tony said he had so much fun. I said that to him too. I said, you had fun, buddy, didn't you? Yeah, he did. So sounds like an awesome time. So, but yeah. So anything that is there that might make you feel uneasy or brings up any emotions, let's address it. Let's keep moving forward, because Spartan is not going to behave okay the way the way that your ego wants him to. uh he's there to, he has a more important job, okay, which is to open your heart. So, and that goes for all of the horses. So some people have just a hack horse they ride in their house. Some people have show jumpers, eventers, dressage horses. Their job, if there is a job, is to open hearts. It's not to be a sport horse or to perform, even though that's the human's perception. Okay, I know Tony does not have high expectations of Spartan to be a sport horse or anything like that, at least not that I'm aware of. Okay, but it's, you have a very close connection, so there's something there, which is why it's coming up, or why it was brought up to the live. So Tony says, LOL, that's for sure. Yeah, exactly. So horses are not there to do what their existence, they don't exist to do what humans want, Okay, they're not a toy. These are divine beings, okay? And I see that day in and day out of these dear ones. They are just triggering egos all over the place, not behaving. I always cheer the wild horses, not the Mustangs, but the ones that will go against humans' egos a lot. I always cheer them on, so because I'm actually doing the same thing, just in my own way, right? So, uh, uh, Robert says, do horses ever fake lameness, like if they don't want to be ridden? That's a good question. Let me get a drink. I've never known one to fake it, okay, in a way that they are lying or purposely lying. They're very honest and authentic, okay? But I have heard stories, it's a training thing, so they are observing the cause and effect. So if they want to stay in the pasture and they notice that you don't take them out when they pick up their foot or like start to walk funny, and it becomes a pattern, then yeah, they can. It's not that they're faking it, it's just a learned behavior. Does that make sense? So they wouldn't lie like in the way that human egos do, um, but they do observe cause and effect and see and play really. So like a pony that learns that if it wants to get the kid off, it can just drop its shoulder and the kid will come tumbling off. So if it doesn't, yeah, if it doesn't want to be ridden, and oftentimes that's because they're in pain, and also, well, they're there to trigger egos, right? So let's connect with them heart to heart. Let's find out what they enjoy, and then it becomes much easier, right? So not all horses enjoy their jobs, but they do enjoy the job of opening hearts. So in that way, they're always enjoying themselves. Nathan says, thank you for your response. I can see I'm in the mind trying to reverse engineer a process that doesn't exist. Yeah, well, you're used to, like everyone, psychoanalyzing things, right? So let me go into this. Let me look at it through the mind. Let me define things. That's the comfort zone, right? So that's everybody's used to that. So, and it can be very scary or very, it's not unnatural to the creator, but in a way feel unnatural, even though it's perfectly natural, just to feel and tune into things and not try to make stories or make things smaller in the head. So let's see. Lisa says, I love the simplicity of your teachings. I put everything that's not you outside, call higher levels and entourage. Be present and communicative with the frozen part of the ego. I guess it's just a matter of practice to identify what's the very bottom of the trigger. The method seems simple, but being able to do it is another matter. Being able to do it. Yeah, again, that's why it feels very hard to transcend the ego, even though it's very easy at the same time. I can see it from both ways. Okay, so how it can be very easy and how it can be very hard. So, because the belief that you can't do something, right? So then you make that real and then you can't do it. So 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 it's and then the ego stays in control, right? So trying to convince you that you are powerless and blah blah blah. So why can't you do it, Lisa? So what, so and the thing is, the method, it's, instead of making it a method or a step-by-step process, see, because then when we make it a process or a method, we make it a concept, and then we're trying. And then when you're trying, you're actually giving the ego energy, and it makes it harder. So what if we just let everything be, just let it all come up, and there is really no process, there really is no right way. We don't, it's not, it's, there are no, see, the thing is how we've been brainwashed, right? So you, let's say you buy a workout program, okay? And the workout program says if you do 10 push-ups, 20 sit-ups, whatever it is, step by step, then you'll lose X amount of weight and you'll look like this, whatever, I don't know, like Jillian Michaels or something, right? So that's a method, that's a repetition, it's like religion. Religion says whatever, there's different ones, but if you do this, if you go to church on Sunday, don't kill your neighbor, then you'll get into heaven, or then you'll become enlightened, or then you'll become more Christ-like. Okay? And none of these methods are working for anyone anymore. I mean, if that workout method worked for everyone, then I mean, we wouldn't have obesity. And I mean, you can have the same, you can have 10 people do it and they'll all get different results. So these methods are not really working for anyone anymore. And do you know why? It's because they're from the head. It's just, I know it makes sense to people in the mind, but does it really make sense? Wash, rinse, repeat. It's like being a robot. Okay, so let's put all of that away. Okay, so there's no method, there's no right way to do it. And then it especially doesn't work when you're wanting to transcend something, because then you're coming at it from the mind, and then you start to give the ego more energy, and then you're trying to do it the right way, and you're completely totally in the mind. So I keep touching my head, but let's just let it be. What about, okay, so you're triggered, so why not go do something you enjoy? Or if your house needs to be cleaned, maybe give your house a good cleaning. Or if the garden needs to be tended to, why not tend to the garden instead of trying to do the method and get a result? Again, wash, rinse, repeat. Waking up, coming back to the heart is very simple, but the mind wants to make it, the ego wants to make it very simple, like 2 + 2 = 4. In a way, it's trying to escape pain and trying to run away, if that makes sense. So I'm in pain, I'm uncomfortable. If I do the method, then I will be pain-free. So the same thing with religion. So there's a process. In the Catholic Church, you have to genuflect. I forget the name. You go like this. You go to church, whatever. And then you're supposed to come out on the other side, I don't know, more enlightened, or you get good with God, or whatever. So, the same thing with a method where you're trying to get a result, but the mind doesn't know what the result is. It cannot understand who you are. You can use it as a tool to translate your presence, how you feel, okay? But it cannot understand who you are. It can try, which is why we've created and bought into the ego and created all these boxes and put limitations on it. But we're not doing that. We're trying to come out of the boxes, right? Not actually make ourselves smaller. So how about when you're triggered, why not just go have fun? Or do something you enjoy? And sure, the ego will come in and, whatever, complain or make stories about it or whatever. But instead of trying so hard, okay, I'm back. So maybe you go out to the store, maybe you run errands, okay, and then it's just, see, again, it's not like I explained to Nathan, it's not linearly, like, okay, now we do this and now we do this. It's actually happening all the time, even in your sleep, okay? That's why some people wake up in the middle of the night and the ego is so triggered and all of that. So you are coming in all the time, 24/7. so so you cannot lose. You don't need to try to do that because you have decided to come back to the heart. So you will, and you are, and it's just about getting out of your own way, really, and walking your walk and talking your talk, but just let's What about if we just let everything be and stop trying to control stuff all the time? Maybe we might have more fun. Just saying. how how many dear ones, when you're trying to control things, or when you see others trying to control things, trying to keep things smaller, trying to stop things from growing, how much fun are they having? Probably not a lot, right? And they have this little friend, this bee or fly, I don't know which one it is, but they're not having very much fun, right? Because they're going against their nature. The nature of the creator is to grow. Okay, so it's, at least for myself, it's fun until it's not, until, okay, you realize you're in the box, and then, okay, it's time to come out of it. So, so yeah, so why not just be, why not have fun and see, let's step out of our own way and see how far we can go. Step out of the fear, step out of trying to make sense out of everything. Why do we need to make sense out of everything? Why do we need to understand everything to begin with? So have you ever noticed, so I will use the goats as an example because they're a great example. They don't understand anything. So because they don't have any stories, they haven't given anything meaning, so they haven't attached themselves to anything, so they are free. All the animals are like that. So we're the ones that are trying to understand everything, trying to give everything meaning, and making ourselves smaller and actually enslaving ourselves. But we don't realize we're doing it, and that's where the victim part comes in. Heather says, does your ego try to make more boxes? There are, that's a good question. So you are the creator, okay? So you can make as many boxes as you want. So, but why would you want to? So my ego cannot make any more boxes. There are some that are still there, okay? But it's really, yeah, that is done and gone for me. Okay, so I don't, playing in boxes is not fun. For some, playing in boxes is very fun. So that's why you let everyone walk their walk and talk their talk. So if they want to stay in kindergarten, okay. I mean, kindergarten can be fun until you grow out of it, right? So I don't want to stay in kindergarten forever. I don't want to be in school forever, actually, at all. So so I'm leaving. Or I have left, okay? But that's what the boxes are like. So some are in first grade. First grade can be a blast, right? Until you're ready to grow out of it. That's really what the boxes are. So I don't have any boxes, okay? So and actually neither does anyone. It's just, do you want to play in the box? And then when you don't want to play there anymore, then you just leave the box. That's all. And it dissolves. So so well, this is a good place to end. So I hope you all have an awesome week, and we'll be back next weekend. And I love you all. Bye now.